All right, gentlemen. So we are on to part two of this. And like I said, it's a little different for me because usually when I train this, it's a live training or it's a room of people that I've been able to, we interact, we take notes. Like as I used to run a mastermind, a real estate mastermind group, and we got pretty heavy. And everybody in the group were developers. People were buying houses, buying lots and subdividing the lots, putting houses on them. I was partners with a few people in there. We had people who owned, they were land bankers, so they would buy a square mile of land. One of them picked up one for $2.5 million, and seller financed it based on some structures and strategies that I gave him for $7.5 million. Got $2.5 million up front. So those deals exist. I mean, there was it was a mastermind group that I created, and also some other people in there that own a couple of thousand apartment complexes, a couple of thousand doors and apartment complexes, shopping centers, over 1 million square feet of that. And it was a private group, and we got together live, and then we also got together once a month on a call. And this was a couple years back, and it was at my office and stuff. So this structure is a little different for me because, again, nobody's on the fucking call right now. Like it's a group training inside of the group, and like the structure is different. And I did this way on purpose because I wanted to go through these things. And what we'll do is we're gonna kind of hit the bullet points of the strategy of the real estate warrior training. And first, like we said, I'm going to go over the thing that I believe that's going to help you the most, because you're going to make millions of dollars in your lifetime at this thing. But you need to understand that there's a way to go about doing this without losing your ass. And this is it. So this is how I learn, and I'm going to teach you how I learn. I know a lot of other people teach it differently. Teach the structure of go buy an apartment complex first, and you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. You hope that shit's going to work out for you. Like, that's bullshit. That's how they keep you paying them, and you never make money. And then you wonder why shit doesn't work out, because, I want you to picture all real estate, especially the bigger things. Let's say that's like Thanksgiving dinner. When you have a turkey, you put the turkey in the oven. Turkey takes a couple of hours. But usually if you have people over, you got to feed them. So the side dishes come into play, the cake and, the maybe a little bit of greens and cornbread and, beans and rice and stuffing and all the other things that go along with, the small little, we do the croissant sandwiches and the little pig in the blankets and stuff for the kids. So everybody's waiting for the turkey. That's why they showed up. But you still got to eat. You can't have all those people waiting to be fed. Like, everyone will get tired and they'll leave. They'll go home. There won't be any substance to hold everybody. Everyone's starving while they wait for this turkey. And then when the turkey comes out, everyone's like, okay, let's eat. And then you slice the big things and everybody's like, oh, and then everybody goes to sleep. Well, this is the side dishes. This is the thing that feeds you while you are getting and you're sticking your turkey in the oven. You got to be able to have this too, or you will not eat. It'll be a long wait before that turkey gets out of the oven. Because what happens when you cook a turkey, sometimes you pull it out too early, it's not cooked all the way, and you got to put it back in. You got to start all over again. You got to wait. Or sometimes you end up not paying attention. But what happens is the side dishes are there. They're there to keep everybody happy. They're there to keep everybody sane. They're there to let everybody know that this thing is happening. So I want you to take a look at your real estate investing from this perspective on this training like that. So big money with nice houses. What is that? So let's give a description of what a nice house is. When I say nice house, there's a distinction between nice houses that we're looking for and nice houses that we're not looking for. Nice houses we're looking for are houses with a people problem, a financial problem, or a house problem. Nothing big. I'm not talking about tear down fixer-uppers. Like, some of the properties that I've gotten have been, anywhere from, 10 to 2 years old. People have bought them, and they bought them maybe 3 years ago to 5 years ago. They have some equity, not a lot of equity, or they had a personal financial problem and they weren't able to pay it, or they have two houses and they're leaving. These are nice houses. Houses that require less than $5,000 worth of repair work. That means carpet, paint, maybe a little bit of kitchen stuff, maybe refreshing a couple of things, changing a couple of light fixtures here and there, cutting the grass, making sure it looks nice, pressure washing the parking lot, and putting it back on the market and turning it around and selling it, and or turning it around or using it for one of our cash models or our wealth creation models in this game. All right. So a pretty house, not a renovated house. We're talking about a nice house. I would even go so far as some of the houses that I've went at and to were more executive style homes. A house that's a little bit harder to get rid of for some people, but they're nice houses. These houses are going to be not in the low end. They'll be in the middle to middle upper end of any market, right? So like Hawaii, for example, our mid-price houses anywhere between $600,000 to $700,000. I look in that range for houses that can go for $700,000 to $800,000. Or I look for beachfront renovation properties that need some minor renovations, but they're beachfront. And if I can get them for somebody who doesn't want the property anymore for whatever reason or another, I can negotiate the deal. That's a nice house. When I say nice, I don't want to say immaculate. I just want to say, hey, this is a nice home. Somebody would take a look at this thing and call this place home. They want to live there. It's a middle class to upper middle class person, or somebody that was on a second home buyer that wants to go up a notch. They're 3-bedroom, 2-bath. They're not obsolete homes. They don't have like a 3-bedroom, 1-bath where people got to walk through a bedroom to get to the bathroom, like some old shit. I stay away from those. Condos are fine too. Condos, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Studios are 1 bath. But just something that looks like it could be nice and updated, and somebody's bought it. There's not a lot of equity in there, or there is a lot of equity in there, but you can negotiate a deal, okay? So something nice, not a renovation, not an ugly house, not some shit that's boarded up. Sometimes houses that are boarded up that are nice are boarded up to keep bad people out of them, but they're not shitty on the inside, and you need to know that, okay? So that's important. And, you know, again, because we're not in a room, I would be able to paint a picture or show you guys pictures or write on the boards of some of the properties that have been nice houses to me, so you can get an idea of what those things are. And because I don't know which market you're going to be, and I don't know which market you're looking at as you watch this thing, because it's going to be different for everybody. But a nice house is not a fixer-upper. A nice house is something that needs minor rehab work, something you can call in a handyman and do this freaking shit. Shouldn't have a huge problem with this thing, all right? So those deals have been like, okay, cool. So prime example. So one of the ones that we did, it was a couple. They had some kids. They were living in a house. They took over the property from the wife's parents. The parents passed away. They couldn't afford the payments on that house and the payment that they had before. So that house was going behind. They didn't want to lose it. Wife was emotionally attached to the house. Someone called me that knew me, and I sat down and talked to them. I structured the deal the same way I'm going to teach you guys how to do it in these trainings. And I got the deed, and I'll explain to you what get the deed is. I got the deed. I control the property. I got one of my realtors. We put the property back on the market. I took the property over for $320. The buyer came in, put the offer in, all cash. He wanted to take it because there was a bunch of stuff in there, and I'll talk to you about additional cash points. They took it as is. They put an offer for $7.25, I think it was. Again, I can get all the information for you. So I negotiated that deal for what they owed on it. I told them I was going to split the profit with them. I didn't know what the profit was going to be, as long as it took, and I would take care of everything. No worries. They did that. We got everything done. We closed. I called the lender. I talked to them, let them know I was trying to help them out. Put the property on the market. It closed. The profit margin was like 300 and some change, and I kept my word, and I split the profit with them. They didn't know what the profit was. I told them. They thought they were going to, because they had called other people interested, thinking that they were going to be able to do something. People like, I'll give you $25K to walk away, because they knew how much money was in there. I don't do that. I, again, have empathy for people. I know what it feels like to hurt. I know what it feels like to be behind. I know what it feels like to be off. So rather than take the deal as a vulture, I took the deal because it made sense for me and it made sense for them, and it was just business. It wasn't personal, and I opted to give them 50% of the equity, whatever that equity was, less whatever I had in it, and that worked out. So they got roughly $125K, and I got $125K. Everybody was happy. 45 days. Who gives a shit, right? Nice house. Somebody, whoever bought it, he was happy. They were super freaking happy because, again, they were going to lose this thing. So that's the nice house business. No one yelled at me on the way out. Everyone's nice. Everyone's like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. The right people. Again, I've had people who are total bitches about it. I went in, I swooped in, I helped them, and they were still pissed off. That happens. But on the average, if you do it right, because some of those people that are pissed off are usually human nature, like I said. They were going to do that anyways, whether it was me or someone else. They still got what they wanted. They were still bitching, right? It's the bank's problem. It's their cousin's problem. It's their mother-in-law's problem. It's my wife's problem. It's my husband's problem. It's my kids did this to us. Someone else's problem. So naturally, if you swoop in and you keep it business and you focus, at the end of that thing, you will still be their new problem. Just don't worry about it. You just give them a check, and you be happy with your check, and you let them be happy with their check, and you just go away feeling like you're, let them blame you, whatever. God forbid you gave them a check, right? So That's the pretty house business from that perspective. So you understand what a pretty house is. So from the next perspective of this, and I call this section, where are all the pretty, where are the right deals? Or what are, let's go through this. What are the right deals? Motivated sellers. All right. And there's a distinction between motivated to sell and motivated to sell for what I want. Someone motivated to sell for what they want is a property who has maybe a $200,000, $500,000, $800,000, $1 million home, and they want $500,000. They're motivated, but they're motivated for what they want. They're motivated for $500,000. They're motivated for $800,000. That is not who we're looking for. We're looking for someone who is, I like to say, they're don't wanters. They don't want the house. They're over it. Like, you know, sometimes we're in a situation where it just mentally drains us, emotionally drains us. We're like, dude, I'm fucking over it. I just want out, right? That's who we are looking for in this game, because someone with a nice house who's over it is willing to move on, and there is profit when you understand how to structure these deals, which you're going to learn. When you understand that somebody who's over it can be talked to, that you just need to shut the fuck up and trust the process of what I'm going to teach you in the Real Estate Warrior program, and this thing about negotiation, the guerrilla tactics for negotiation, and the strategy. There's a script that I follow over and over again, and it works. It's been working since 1996. I know it's going to freaking work forever. This, because it's based on human behavior, how people make their decisions, how people decide. And if you talk to the right person at the right time and you ask the right questions, they will decide based on the questions you ask them, especially if they are already over it. Now, that's why it's important to not screw people over. Because if you take advantage of people, that shit comes back to bite you. Like, I could have well over been like, yeah, I'm going to give you $50,000 if those people tell you 25. But in that situation, it doesn't do my heart any good. This is war, but it's not like, you know, raping and pillaging people. You know, I just want to do the right thing. So the right deal is somebody who doesn't want their house anymore. Every deal that I got, that was a great deal. Somebody's like, look, you know what? If you can do something with this thing, man, do it. And I would love to make some money, but if I can't, I got it. I moved on. Or I want to do what you said. We have a lot of money in here. We don't have anything left. Is there a way for us to get anything? And then I can make the decision, yes, there is, or no, there's not, based on what I feel like I have to do and the amount of work that's required by me, right? So don't wanters. Someone who's, and I lump this up into three things. They have a timeline. That means they have to do something. They're backed against the wall. That means they have to do something. They're over it and they're ready to go already. It means they have to do something. Or they have two payments. They're backed against the wall to make both of the payments. They're kind of over it. Either way it goes, they don't want this thing. They're motivated to get rid of it. They're not just motivated to just get what they want. Like, they just want out. If you can get them what they want later, great. They're willing to wait, great. They want this problem gone, which we focus on the problem being the house. We are in the real estate business. We're real estate warriors. We're out there hunting and gunning down and going to battle with houses, not people. All right. So that's the right deal. Now, how do you find those deals? Usually they're seller finance, they're seller owner, they're for sale by owner deals. So the world has changed. A lot of shit's online. People put their houses on Craigslist. People put signs in the yard still. People try to get realtors. But be honest with you, realtors don't want to fuck with the stuff that we fuck with. You have a house with no equity, two payments, or a person who's lost their job. They're behind in payments. They got a family, kids. They live there. The house is not, you know, painted. It's not ready to show. They can't leave when the realtor says, oh, I got somebody coming by. And oh, by the way, I can't pay your 6% commission because, man, we just don't have it. We don't know how we're going to close. And we don't have a check to stroke. If we were to sell, and at the end of this thing, the amount we owe and the amount we sell for and paying all the fees and your fees don't equate out. We don't have the extra $4,000 or $5,000 check to make the difference. No realtor will touch it. And no realtor will want to touch it and be fast as we are to be able to take that problem off their hands, because we will get working the next day if that deal warrants that, right? So that's why these deals are easy to find. So while you may have realtors that you say, cool, why would a realtor even talk to me about this thing if you're going to find a realtor that deals in and say, hey, look, do you deal in this neighborhood? I'm looking for people who may be behind in payments, don't want to sell. Maybe it's a second home. It's been vacant for a while. They haven't really wanted to rent it out. They don't have a lot of extra money and they're just struggling, and you're getting ready to not want to deal with this thing, and you're just ready to be like, hey, if I bring these people something, man, maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll do something creative. Those are those people that you want. Craigslist, you can call those people. You'll have the script. The best bet is to get those people to call you. it still works. We buy houses signs. I know everybody hates them. I don't. Like, in the end, we buy houses. I've made millions of dollars when we buy houses signs. I've closed millions of dollars worth of transactions when we buy houses signs. That is the go-to. That's the fastest way. Think about this. A man is driving in his car. He doesn't want to go home. He's pissed off. He's not making a lot of money. He's behind in payments. Or a woman, right? They're going to wherever they live, and they drive past in their neighborhood, close to where they live, close to by the turn, a sign that says, we buy houses, fast cash, and a phone number. In that moment of dealing, they don't want to go home. They don't want to look at their problem. The house is the problem. When they pull up, they can't miss it. When they see their kids and they can't control what's going on, they can't miss it. They can't escape this problem. How am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? If they're 2-3 payments behind and their monthly payment's $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and they're $9,000 in the hole, even if they have money, that's not enough to bring the note. That's not enough to bring it current. So when they talk to the bank's like, hey, we can't help you, or we can do like a payment plan, but you're going to have to fill out your finances. You're going to have to do this, and then they got to qualify for all of these things. Man, it's just a lot of shit. So when this guy sees your sign, it's going to be like a fucking sign from God. And he's going to be like, look, I'm just going to call. I just want to find out some information. That number comes across. You answer it. You fucking negotiate. You talk to this man. You make him believe and feel that you can handle it. It's a normal thing for you. You can do your best to help him out. And if it makes business sense for you, it'll make good sense for them and his family to make this thing happen. And they can go. That is the right deal, right? That's the best deal. That's the best deal for you. That's the best deal for him. That's the best deal for everybody involved. You make money. He gets rid of a problem and or makes money on the sale. And if not, then he goes on. Him and his family are okay. And he has time, all right? And then you get the opportunity to get to work. That's the best deal. That works with land. That works with apartment complexes because I've done them with apartment complexes. That works with shopping centers. I've done them with shopping centers and retail buildings. That works with small houses that need to be torn down and moved. I've done that. People have deeded me properties. I've got the property. I've called the house mover. They moved the house off the house, cut the house in half, got permits, and they took it off. Then I've sold that property to somebody else with the same strategies, negotiation tactics, and strategy that I'm talking about with you, off of signs and off of Craigslist posts and ads, and following up with people and talking to people about what I can do and building a great reputation by being the real estate warrior that I am and waging war in the marketplace, fighting for the shit that I wanted, and doing what I said I was going to do, which were those mindset principles that I gave you in the very beginning of this training. All right. So those two pieces were first, what is fast, big money with nice homes, how to find the right deals, basically signs, ads, realtors, somebody who is in the know to talk to those people and or people that you know, or neighborhoods as you drive by looking at signs, putting out signs. That's the number one thing for me. Always has worked. We buy houses signs. They're inexpensive. You can take them down. They get torn down. The city will call them, bitch about them. That's fine. Just like, hey, which one are you looking at? I paid some people to do some marketing for me. Didn't know I was going to do that. I'll go get it. No problem. No harm, no foul. Boom. Squared away. It's just a fear tactic. There's always going to be a sign Nazi. The sign Hitler is watching, and he's like, hey, that's a sign. Take it down. I'm going to find you. Got it. I'll take down the one you see. Where's that at? Usually it's one guy driving to work. He sees it. He's pissed off. He's tired of it. He calls you and rains down hell and tells you he's going to threaten you. If he says he's going to find you, okay, cool, man. Hey, look, let me rectify this. I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. I had some high school kids do some marketing for me. I didn't know they were going to do that. So that's that. Next is we move into the real estate warrior for negotiations. After you find the right deal, typically your phone's going to call. The best deal will always be the deal of a person that calls you. If you have to call them, you have a 50-50 chance of getting that deal. Maybe 30-70. If they call you, they're interested, they're ready, they're curious. And human behavior warrants people to be curious. And when they're curious and you go, cool, I appreciate your call. You got a few minutes to get some information, give me some information to find so I can see how my program of buying houses will work for you. And if it does, great. And if not, we'll figure that out. You got some minutes and they'll say yes or no, right? They usually say yes. If they called you, they'll say yes. Right? Because they called you. What the fuck? They're going to say, no, I don't have time. If you call them, they will never have time. They'll never want to talk about it in front of their family or their kids. It'll never be a good time. It's a painful conversation if they even answer the phone. Most of the time, they don't answer the phone because, let's say they're behind in payments, they're already not answering the phone. Right? They already don't have it. They don't want to face those things. So even though you're a solution, they don't know that until you talk to them. And the best person is always the person who contacted you. Right? This goes the same thing for apartment complexes and shopping centers and stuff like that. If you call a broker and you go, hey, I'm interested in building that, I saw that you have, it's a seller finance deal. The owner's willing to negotiate and he's motivated, and they call you back. That is the best. I'm like, hey, you got a few minutes to give me some information about the building. Set the tone for that negotiation that you will be the one asking the questions, not them, because they will be calling to ask you questions about your program and how it works. And you said you pay all cash. Yeah, I do. Certain circumstances warrant paying all cash, which you will. But first, I need to get a little information to you to find out if that program is going to fit for the property that you have. Is that okay? Got it. And then we'll go through what those questions are, because we're not going to go through them on this training. I want to give you the gist of the negotiation, because the negotiation is that's my bread and butter, man. I fucking love negotiations. I taught a negotiation class. I used to actually teach a negotiation class as a training as a real estate investor, and people would pay anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 to just come to that class for 2 days straight. And I'm really good at that. I'm really good at putting these things together. So as people call you and you begin to have that negotiation, I want you to keep two things in mind. I always gave this out in our negotiation training. It's a phrase that I say: everyone has a sheet. Everyone has a sheet. S-H-E-E-T, a sheet of paper. So if you were to take a sheet of paper and you write out all of your assets, I can do this, I can do this, I know this, I know this, I know this. And then you write out all of the, liabilities. Well, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this, I'm not really good at this, I don't know how to do this, right? And then you sit down and you talk to somebody and they did that same drill. They have all these things that they're good at, all these things they're bad at. And you just sat and you try to get as much of their information off of their sheet, and they try to get as much as information on your sheet. That's the whole game of negotiation, right? And when I say negotiating, you're not going back and forth, especially when you control the conversation. You're asking questions because you want to know as much information that's on their sheet that you don't know as possible, so you can get an understanding if it matches what's on yours. So if I go, cool, how much do you own the property? Oh, I don't want to tell you that. Got it. Right away, I'm like, all right, well, man, look, you know what? My program may not work for you because I need certain informations. And if I can't get that information, then my program's definitely not going to be a fit, man. Good luck. I appreciate you giving me a call, man. Good luck out there. And they're going to have to take that shit or go, right? Because if you won't let me know what's on your paper, I have my paper, you have a paper, I can't help you if I don't know what's on it. That's negotiation 101. Everyone has a sheet. So don't think that because you don't know what's on their sheet that they don't have anything on there, because they always do. Your job is just to get as much of that information as possible. There's ways to go about doing that. There's a script that we use that asks the right questions, that keeps you in a situation, and it's a flow that keeps you on target, because they will be telling you some emotional stuff. You're just going to be listening to them, but you want to be able to focus. And if you're off focus, get back to where you were. So if you make that sheet become a part of who you are at your cellular level, you'll have it. So I know that sheet at a cellular level. We won't go through it. I'll just put that sheet as a resource in here. So negotiation, that'll be the next part of this training as we relate to live training and being able to have a conversation with you guys as we get back into this group, and we can go back and forth. And we'll probably do that on an actual call, not an actual training video, that without the interaction that goes with this. Cool. So next we go into the get the deed part. So after you've negotiated all the stuff, you understand that they're willing to work with this program the way that I'll be teaching you how to do it. We go into get the deed. Get the deed ultimately is take over the property subject to the existing financing. Whatever entity you use, I use a trust, and I'll go through all that stuff. I don't know all the details of what that really means. I know I've been using it forever. I've had somebody, an attorney, go through that trust, and it always stands up. It always holds weight. I've used land contracts. I've used promissory notes. I've used contract for deeds in some contract for deed states. I've used lease option documents, but ultimately the get the deed in my mind always works best. One weapon for every situation. Even if I use a lease option, I get the deed and I have the deed held someplace. Or I have that deed held someplace. I can use a quitclaim deed. I can use a trust. But either way it goes, I get something that allows me to say, I'm the person controlling this thing, this property, and this protects you. It protects me. I can make decisions, and then I can turn around and sell it, and I don't have to fight you for the money that I create later, right? Because naturally, whenever, just like war, as a warrior, when blood hits the table, fangs come out, it's any man's bet what the fuck somebody's going to do. And I've been screwed by that. So I can stand firm and say, look, if you don't get the deed, no telling what the fuck's going to happen. I can't teach you what works outside of that. I can teach you what's always worked for me since 1996 all the way up until now. This has been the thing that's worked. When I didn't do it, I lost. When I did do it, I won. So there's a clear distinction between people who play the game and people who don't. You must be a real estate warrior in this capacity of getting the deed. So next, Along with getting the deed, there'll be other profit centers. You're going to have to negotiate those. So as you go, you get the property. They're saying yes. You're going by. You're getting all your contracts signed. Before you close, there's going to be some shit that they don't want. And you're just going to say, hey, look, leave all that stuff. You have a car to cover some of the closing costs and things like that. And I'll go through all what those costs are. Car, maybe an old boat, clothes, furniture, something that I can use to kind of help contribute to the cost that I'm going to be eating to be able to close this thing. Or they may say, look, you know what, we got furniture, we got a car we don't want, we just need to get out of here. And like, good, you know what, leave that, that'll contribute to some of the costs that I'm going to have to eat, as well as some of the other things, as well as how many payments can you make, and are you be willing to make if I were to take this thing over the way that it sits, because it's going to have to help me in exchange for me taking it like this to cover some of the closing costs. And they'll say, well, you know, I can probably make 2 more payments on the house if they're still making payments. So like I can make 1 more payment on the house. Or you can say, typically what I do is I usually get 2 more payments made towards the house and in exchange for the closing costs, and I'll take it as it sits. And they're going to go, crap, okay, well, I got that, or no, I don't have 2 more payments, or I do have 2 more payments, and that'll be exchanged for the closing costs. Got it. I got it. As long as I'm out of this thing, 2 more payments I can do. Because what's the alternative, right? And that additional profit center for me is that I walk away from the deal and they got to make 2 more payments fucking anyways with no light at the end of the tunnel. So there's a distinction between this thing. So it's an additional profit center. And what happens if you sell the house in, you know, a month and you got 2 more payments and shit goes into freaking Hip National, right? Like your personal bank. That's just extra money that you created out of thin air because you asked for it. That's the thing about the guerrilla tactics about this business, is that there's profit centers between, you know, the stuff that you get. I mean, I've got cars, I've got furniture, I've got jet skis, I've got boats, I've got motorcycles, I've got all this shit included in some of the negotiation that I've got for homes, and I've just turned around and sold the stuff. It's just been extra money, or I've kept some of the stuff, right? Like I said, because who doesn't want an extra car or a bike, or, you know, hell, I've got mansions and stuff like that where they just thrown in everything, statues, all kinds of cool shit, rugs, and we sold those things at auction, and that was an additional profit center. So there's a whole bunch of ways to play this game, which is why I'm teaching you the big money from the houses first, because there's a negotiation side. And if you can't negotiate for these things on a small side, dealing directly with somebody that's kind of going through an emotional distraught, when it comes time to the commercial side with business, you won't have the fucking juice. You won't understand what it's like to ask somebody for something and think that you're not going to get it, because that's all business. This is dealing in a business capacity, shutting off your emotions because maybe it's your first few times, or you're going back to this and you shut off your emotions. You treat it as business before you get into the game with the big boys, because they're going to treat it as business. And if you're still dicking around and you can't shut it off, you lose, and they'll smell you coming a mile away. All right. So that's this piece about the negotiating for additional profit centers and stuff like that. After you're moving in to do paperwork and get the actual deed and asking for more stuff, the hidden profits. So next thing is a selling system. Now, once you get a property, it's one thing to get one, it's another thing to get rid of one. And that's where you go in, and that's where your team comes into place. You aren't going to be freaking listing the property, doing a bunch of shit. You will be very hot and heavy in selling, because you want to be an active seller in this thing. And there's a couple of different ways that we used to sell, as well as there's a couple of different ways to actually structure this thing where it sells every time. If it doesn't sell every time, you got a bad property and you got something to do. That's a whole different training that we'll go through in the Q&A, but that's not for this. So there's a way you go about it to where you ain't going to be sitting open houses. You ain't going to be all there. Your realtor may not even be sitting open houses. They're going to go there. It's going to be locked up. They're going to access the property, go in, see it, like it. It's going to be staged, ready to go. They'll fill out an application, leave it on the counter, lock it back up, give it back to you. You're going to run their application, make sure they're good to go, whether they're doing seller financing, lease option on the sale, or they're doing a straight cash out. You're going to be dealing with either your loan officer or your realtor to make sure they're pre-approved, ready to go, turning in the offer, closing in a relatively short amount of time, earnest money, non-refundable, ready to fucking go. No loss. No, it's a system. It works every time. All right. And this is where we go into that lead and get rich, because you need to be a leader. Like I said in the beginning of this thing, you're going to be also leading your teams to make sure that you see this thing to the finish line, because getting the property is the start of the deal. The next part of this deal is you need a selling system that gets you and your team fucking paid, and it cashes everybody out. Or you keep the property for a while and you get paid on the front end, you get paid in the middle, and you get paid on the back, and everybody wins. Then after that selling system, which we're going to go over, you will get the do's and the don'ts. Do's and the don'ts. Do this, which I told you some of the do's getting them. And then don't do's. Do not get yourself in a situation where you lose control of the deal along the way, or you don't have the right controls in place, or you don't have the right documentation that gets put into the title company where they need to see everything. And you don't need to show everybody everything. They're going to be like, hey, what is this? And can we see this? And you're going to be like, no, you cannot see that. Is there a problem? No, I'm the person to handle this thing. If you have any questions, you shoot it over to me. If you have any more questions, you shoot it over to me. And that's it. Right? Now, what happens? I always needed a FUBAR plan. Like, fucked up beyond recognition. Like when shit goes and hits hell in the high water, which is why it's important for you, like I said, in the real estate warrior mindset side, is tell your truth. There's times where you have to go back and unravel your deal with the old owner, because you're now the owner, the seller, and you are now the seller at closing, day before, or some document that needs to get done or some shit that didn't go right, and all of a sudden they're going to see how much money you're going to make. That's why it's important for you to tell people the truth. Hey, look, I'm in this for business. I'm definitely trying to make money here. I will only do this if it makes me money, and I won't do it if it doesn't make me money, because I don't want to be in your situation later as a problem, as having a house that I can't get rid of. So sometimes you may have to go back to them and say, hey, look, this needed to be done. I need this signed. This is how much money I'm going to make. You still remember, you're not getting anything, but I need you to sign this paper. I'll be by here, and I need it signed and hacked off on and notarized, and I'm bringing a notary with me because you're still going to have your team. They're going to do that. And if they won't sign, then you're going to have to put yourself in a situation where you have other things in place, which I will go over in the do's and the don'ts. I learned this because I've been in a situation where people have held up my money, and I've had to pay some of them sometimes because they got greedy when they saw, oh shit, we weren't going to make any money. This guy's going to make a lot of money. He made it look so easy. It isn't that it's easy. I just make it simple because I've been doing this shit for so long. So people don't think that's worth the money that when somebody takes a problem. I always say the same thing. People forget what the rain looks like when the sun is out. And that's your job to make sure that that applies. You need to make sure the sun is out over them, and you take the rain and you walk underneath that shitty cloud until you get paid. And when you get paid, cloud's gone, they're happy, you're happy, or they're not happy, you're happy. Either way it goes, you get fucking paid. This is war. You are a real estate warrior. You're not here to play games, all right? And I want to make sure that you have enough controls in place to make sure that you don't lose track of those things, and you can control your deal to make sure that if something doesn't go right, you can fix it and you can see this thing to the end. All right. Super important. Yeah. So that's going to be the system. And again, I was going to go through teaching all this stuff, each point, but I think it warrants us to be interactive. And I wanted you to get this because there'll be notes and there'll be questions that I want you to answer. There'll be activities I want you to go through so far as Q&As, partner shares, and actually ask questions and share what you took from these things, and also come up with different ideas and share those with the class, share those with me. So I got an understanding that you got it. And then in the guerrilla negotiation, and as well as the negotiation systems, you and I will be role playing. So I'll be the seller, you'll be the buyer. I'll be the buyer sometimes, you'll be the seller. We will negotiate and we'll put together mock deals, and you will practice those things because this is how you get good. This is being a real estate warrior. You're willing to get in the battle. You're willing to test and ship over and over again. You're willing to pick up the phone and answer the phone. You're willing to negotiate and get on the battlefield before you go to war with people on your team, with the other warriors that are being real estate warriors, and we practice this shit together. So when you get it with a live person, you go to battle confidently and you go to war, and you understand that when you get that deal, it's your fucking deal, man. There's no better feeling than taking down a deal and knowing that you're going to see it through to the end, and you can watch how much money you're going to make, and you're happy, they're happy enough, and you know that you've got a deal, and you are not waiting for the turkey to come out of the oven. You can eat. All right. I live my life doing this stuff, man. I love this stuff. Of all the businesses, this is the most lucrative, yet this is the most dangerous. And if you are like me and you're a warrior type guy, you're a champion man, you run into the fire and into the chaos instead of away from it, this is your world. You will love the thrill of the hunt in this game. All right. So again, this is part 2A, and we'll go into the next training after we get everybody on a call, and I'll structure what that call is, and we'll play the game hardcore. And I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys. If you have questions, put them in the comment box. And I want you to remember that this is a simple yet effective, simple, not easy, fucking program for you to be a real estate warrior and to dominate the game and make money in the real world with street smart negotiation and real estate strategy with somebody who's been there, done that, and done millions of dollars of transactions over the years. All right, man, this is Vic. Let's get this done.